Welcome back. Now after so much of hardware and sensor and circuit, it's time for some fun stuff. So we are going to see Raspberry Pi. I really like Raspberry, and Raspberry Pi is one of my favorite. But we are not going to talk about that now. We are going to talk about this small credit card size computer. Now there's a story behind Raspberry Pi which is very interesting. Raspberry Pi was actually developed to educate the small kids about computer science, and it's a very small computer, nearly equivalent to your credit card size, and it's not any small device, but it's a full-fledged computer. When they first launched Raspberry Pi, it was so popular among the developer community that it was almost sold out instantly. So people got really excited about the size of the computer because it was so small and it was so powerful. Now, what I mean when I say powerful, if we see the specs, we have already seen the specs of Raspberry Pi in the previous section, but it's always good to know that how much this small size computer is capable of. Because when I started working with Raspberry Pi, I was not able to believe that this small computer was able to run the Linux operating system, and it was running better than my own laptop. So I didn't find any instance where there is the performance is lacking or some program is taking more memory, maybe because it's Linux, but surely this is one of the very amazing things I have ever experienced. And if you see the specs more specifically, then you will find it has 512 megabit of RAM. Now it has 2 USB port where you can actually plug 4 devices. It has an Ethernet port. If you are not going to use USB Wi-Fi, then you can always use a LAN cable to connect it to internet. Now it has a 3.5mm jack for audio out, and yes, I have listened music in Raspberry Pi and it was very sweet. Now it can do HDMI, composite video, it can play that for you. You will be surprised to see that it can actually play high definition video of 40 megabits per second. This is a bit geeky, but what it means is that it can play high definition video, and for the size of the computer it's quite surprising that it was able to play high definition videos. It has a floating point arithmetic operation of 700 megahertz. Now that's a bit difficult to understand, but to correlate the performance I have a different spec. For example, many of you have already seen Pentium processors. So the processing power is equivalent to Pentium 2. Now that's something you can relate. Now this small machine right here is having the capability to perform equivalent to 300 megahertz Pentium 2 processor. If you are a gamer and you like to play game, then I would say that it is equivalent. The graphic performance is equivalent to Xbox One. So the specs are quite surprising for the size of the computer, and I don't know, but I really love this thing, and the price is really very less. It's around $34 and it's reducing day by day, and you may find it out in $30 in Amazon as well. And if you go to our website UFFCN, then you will be given one kit which is same Raspberry Pi and in a much cheaper price. This is really one of the amazing things which you will ever experience in your life. So I will recommend you should buy it, even if you are not using for a project, to just experience the size and the power which it has. Now if you take a closer look about all of the components present, this looks like a motherboard, but it is really a full-fledged computer. Now it has an Ethernet port. This port is actually used to connect to internet by Ethernet cable. You can use your USB Wi-Fi dongle here, or in our project we will be actually connecting Arduino to our Raspberry Pi using this USB ports. Now this is GPIO pins, so there are some GPIO pin. GPIO pin is general purpose input output. You can interface a digital sensor directly in this GPIO pin. You don't need an Arduino or any external circuit for that. Many people actually do that for building a use case of IoT, but we have selected a more difficult way, which is very much customizable and you can do more stuff with it. So if you want to give it a try to connect sensors with this GPIO pin, then you can always go ahead, and it's a very easy thing to do, and because you will always find documents available, because the Raspberry Pi community is like one of the very active community out there in the internet. And this is the processor, which is actually in the center, and this is the display. This is DSI display. For example, many of who have used video game in our childhood time, then there was a small ribbon kind of a wire which comes through your video game and which connects to your video output device. Now this is exactly that. You can actually have this ribbon kind of wire attached to that, and you can interface a cathode monitor. I'm becoming too geeky here, but for the sake of simplicity, let's leave it at DSI display. You can see here there's a two yellow dots there. Just right behind this you will be inserting your micro SD card, which is your hard disk. This is quite surprising because the size of a hard disk is like 16 GB, the size of your SD card, and because this is a very small computer, so your hard disk is even smaller. So your micro SD card is actually a hard disk. Quite surprising, but it's true. Now this is your HDMI input, high definition media. Wow. If you are kind of a high definition guy and you want to see how things look in high definition, and you have a big monitor where there is a HDMI input, then you can plug in your HDMI here, and then you can see your operating system in your big monitor. And I have never given it a try, but I have seen some of the people doing it, and it works very well and without any problem. Now this is micro USB power. Like in your mobile device you have a micro USB to charge it. Similarly, we have a small micro USB plug which will be actually powering this whole system. The standard voltage required to run a Raspberry Pi is 5 volt and 1 ampere DC current. Let's set it up. So what we are going to do, we are going to download Raspbian. Raspbian is actually a Linux which is specifically made for Raspberry Pi. You can install any kind of operating system in your Raspberry Pi, like your Ubuntu, Red Hat, but that's a bit heavy, even if it's having a good performance as specs. But still, I will go with Raspbian because people have already tried and it's proven. And if you are downloading any software for it, then you can easily see reviews from other people who have already used it. And the community around Raspbian is a huge community which helps me every time I got stuck. After you download Raspbian, we will be burning Raspbian into our micro SD card. Now once we burn the micro SD card, here burning means we are actually using a software which is Win32 disk imager, and we are writing, that is copying the operating system in this micro SD card. So when I say burn, I mean copy in a simple way. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my Ethernet port address, because I'm going to connect my Raspberry Pi to my PC using Ethernet cable. and I need to have a IP assigned to my Ethernet cable manually so it can talk to my Raspberry Pi. And then what I will do, I will download this PuTTY. Now PuTTY is a very famous tool for doing a SSH. Through SSH we will be going inside Raspberry Pi, and if you want to see Raspbian in a GUI based, that is graphical user interface based, then you can download XIM. We will be now demonstrating all these steps